Hello YouTube, this is VidHead85 Entertains, and this little bit of learning we're going to look at, it's from biography, and it is about Opal Lee, and I have not heard of her, and I'm so glad that I can talk about this living legend. Lee earned a Nobel Peace Prize nomination in 2022 for her part in creating the Juneteenth holiday. The article is going to be linked below so you could read it. But it's how 97-year-old activist Opal Lee became the grandmother of Juneteenth. For decades, Opal Lee campaigned to make Juneteenth a national holiday. She never doubted it would happen one day, but she was determined to see it occur during her lifetime. In 2021, she got her wish when President Joe Biden signed a bill declaring June 19th a federal holiday to commemorate the end of slavery in the United States. It happened in no small part due to Lee's efforts, earning her the nickname the grandmother of Juneteenth, as well as a nomination for the Nobel Peace Prize in 2022, which she ultimately did not win. Now 97 as of June 2024, the 97-year-old Lee captured the world's attention during a series of symbolic walks from her home in Fort Worth, Texas, to the U.S. Capitol, beginning in late 2016, to advocate for the national holiday. She also spearheaded an online petition that she hoped would draw 100,000 signatures. It ended up with 1.6 million. I just remember thinking, gee, I'm 89 years old and I think there's a lot that needs to be done, Lee said of her famous walks, which generated national news coverage and support from such celebrities as Usher, Pharrell Williams, and Lupita Nyong'o. Lee's passion for Juneteenth is rooted in her appreciation for its history and her personal experience, both of which have a lasting impact that fueled her activism. Lee was born in Marshall, Texas in 1926, the oldest of three children. Her family moved to Fort Worth when she was 10, and 2 years later she watched as 500 white rioters burned down her home, angry at the family for moving into a predominantly white neighborhood. The people didn't want us, Lee said. They started gathering. The paper said the police couldn't control the mob. My father came with a gun, and police told him if he busted a cap, they'd let the mob have us. They started throwing things at the house. When they left, they took out the furniture and burned it, and burned the house. That fire took place on Juneteenth, June 19th, 1939, and the significance of that day wasn't lost on Lee. The fact that it happened on June 19th, on the 19th day of June, spurred me to make people understand that Juneteenth is not just a festival. After a career as an educator and a homeschool counselor, Lee retired in 1976 and became active in community causes in the Fort Worth area, organizing the city's annual Juneteenth celebration and co-founding the Tarrant County Black Historical and Genealogical Society. Making Juneteenth a national holiday was never far from Lee's mind and started an annual tradition of walking 2.5 miles, representing the 2.5 years it took the Emancipation Proclamation to reach the state of Texas. I was thinking that surely somebody would see a little old lady in tennis shoes trying to get to Congress and notice, Lee told NPR. Recounting her first walk, Lee said, I gathered some people at my church, my pastor, the church musicians, a county commissioner, a school board member, not acres of people, but a few, and we had a little ceremony. I walked from the church, 2.5 miles, and went home, and the next day I started where I left off. From September 2016 to January 2017, Lee traveled the country from Fort Worth to Washington, stopping in dozens of cities along the way for the symbolic 2.5 miles walks to draw attention to her cause. She clarified to Variety that she didn't walk every single mile from Texas to the nation's capital. I did some hundreds of them, but not 1,400. Her efforts inspired celebrities to amplify her activism. In a series of tweets Actor Lupita Nyong'o wrote in 2020, recognizing Juneteenth nationally would be one more way to acknowledge the intrinsic value of black people and their history to the wealth and prosperity of the USA. She then encouraged followers to sign Lee's petition. Lee believes protests against systemic racism in response to the police killing of unarmed black men like George Floyd in May 2020 helped bring more attention and garner support for the effort to make Juneteenth a national holiday. I think it was enough is enough, Lee said. I think losing that man's life just pushed us over the edge. We've put up with so much. When I think about what our ancestors had to put up before the emancipation, before that General Order Number 3 was declared down in Galveston, the situations aren't that far different. Lee was present on June 17, 2021, when President Joe Biden signed the bill into law that made Juneteenth a national holiday. Afterwards, he gave her one of the pens used during the ceremony and got down on one knee to thank her and whisper to her as the gathered crowd applauded. We're blessed to mark the holiday in the presence of Miss Opal Lee. As my mother would say, God love her, Biden said during the ceremony. Miss Opal, you're incredible. A daughter of Texas, a grandmother of the movement to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. So thank you so much for joining me for this episode here. I am really happy to see, I found out when I found out that that Juneteenth became a national holiday, I was happy to hear it because there is a really big movement from white conservatives and Christian fundamentalists even where racism tends to be linked with them, that want to make sure that black history stays relegated to the background. We are not background characters in America. We made this prosperous country, and now that we are fighting for our own self-determination, a lot of people want to call us lazy. A lot of racists want to call us lazy. However, my issue is that if I am old enough to learn about slavery, then white students are old enough to know about systemic racism and how to dismantle it. Talk to you soon. Thank you so much for joining me. God bless you, Opal Lee, or whoever you believe in, likely the Christian God. But peace and blessings to you, and thank you so much for making this happen. Thank you so much, and have a great day.